Just heading to the courts. Plan today to work on some short forehands. Finally back playing left-handed. It was going well last year, and then I had a little slip at Christmas. A little bit of a collarbone issue on my left side this time. So I've just started back playing. It's been around 2 weeks now. So gonna start to put in a little bit more work. I started my session with a quick sensory warm-up, which is a great way to prime the body for movement and really switch on the coordination systems before you play. Next, I did a full body mobility routine, and when I do mobility, I'm thinking about a couple of things. Firstly, injury prevention. I want to make sure that all of my joints are moving properly, because if any joints are stuck or jammed, your brain can basically hold muscles tight and weak as a protective mechanism, and that's a huge injury risk. So just going through, mobilizing all of the joints, really important from that perspective. But then after that, it's about performance. We're trying to activate all of the muscles as we go through the body, and we're trying to switch on the parts of the brain that are responsible for coordination. Now, I'm learning to play left-handed. Coordination is going to be one of the keys for allowing me to continually develop my technique. After that, I did a little prehab work for my shoulders, so working on the external rotators, scapular retractors, some of the muscles that help to stabilize the shoulders. This is really useful for helping to prevent shoulder injuries and preventing things like tennis elbow, but it's also useful from a performance perspective because your brain's pretty smart. If these muscles aren't switched on, your brain isn't going to allow you to have full power because it's an injury risk. So by making sure they're switched on at the start, it helps you to have more efficient racket head speed generation. The final part of my warm-up was to work on a few footwork patterns. Now this served two purposes as well. Firstly, I want to continue to raise my heart rate and prepare myself for the physical work. But secondly, it's about the programming, the technical work that's going to happen, because footwork is such an important part of the game, and really it's the area that lets most players down. If you're not set up in the right position, it's really hard to execute your shot well. So as part of my warm-up, I always like to practice specific patterns. Here I'm just kind of working on some neutral stance, just stepping into the ball, then doing some crossover steps, working on a couple of different variations, one where I pivot through and one where I do a hop step. Then, although I'm not going to be working on them in the session because I'm working on short forehands, just programming in a few wide forehand footwork steps. This is something that I really struggled with at the start. As a right-handed player, I was very unused to stepping on my outside foot because I used to have a one-handed backhand. So when I was learning to play again left-handed, working on these open stance forehand variations was a really important piece of the puzzle. So I like to practice them regularly to kind of help smooth out the technique. So the big thing that I'm really working on with my left-handed forehand at the moment is trying to get the timing piece just to feel a little bit more natural. I feel like I've got the nuts and bolts. Like last year was tough. Learning to play it was so frustrating, but now I can kind of react visually. So when my opponent hits it or when the ball machine hits it, I can kind of get my feet to work in unison with what my visual system is seeing. So now I'm kind of roughly in the right position. I've got the hang of all the basic footwork patterns and I can generate a little bit of power. But now I've got to try and get the timing to be a little bit more smooth so that as I come into my shot, I'm able to kind of time my hip rotation with my kind of racket drop and racket lag so that I can get more effortless power, because I can kind of do it some of the time, but it's just not quite there yet. So that's the overarching thing that I'm kind of working on with all these short forehands. So yes, I'm trying to get set up, I'm trying to get ready in the right position, I'm trying to use the specific footwork patterns, but what I'm really trying to do is be nice and relaxed and loose and get the timing of kind of my hip and my upper body and my arm working at the same time. I like to start the hitting portion with a little bit of mini tennis, which is a really good place to work on the timing and all the different things I'm focusing on. So trying to stay nice and light on my toes, trying to react to what I see visually with my feet to make sure I'm set up in the right position, and trying to get the timing. Obviously, I'm not trying to hit the ball hard, but I am trying to drive through my back leg and time that with my racket drop. Now we've got a couple of different options for footwork patterns when it comes to short forehands. We've got a neutral stance, which we're going to be using more when the ball is a little bit lower. And then we've got an open or semi-open stance that we're going to be using when the ball's a little bit higher. I'm starting my training session working on a neutral stance. This is the shot out of the two that I tend to hit a little bit better. Now, like I've just said, my focus is really trying to time the racket drop and the hip drive. So I'm trying to stay nice and light on my toes. Then as I move into position, I'm trying to drive through my back leg, and as I drive through my back leg,
I'm rotating it, allowing my racket to drop at the same time, and then timing the racket lag to hopefully effortlessly throw my racket forwards by using the full kinetic chain. Something that's really important is I'm not trying to hit the ball hard. Obviously I want more power, but I'm trying to do it through efficiency, not by using brute force. So when I hit, I'm trying to hit with like a maximum 60 or 70% of my effort level. And this is where a lot of people go wrong. They're trying to hit with so much power. But at the moment, I'm playing at kind of a 4.5 level. And at that level, I don't need to hit winners. Tennis is about getting to the ball, getting the ball back in play, doing it consistently, trying to make your opponent uncomfortable by putting it in positions that are difficult for them. So I need the ability to hit this shot at a semi-decent level. I need to hit it accurately, but I've got to make the ball in play. So when I generate my power, it needs to come from efficiency, because as soon as you start trying to swing hard, that's when you make mistakes. Next, I'm going to work on the open and semi-open stance, which is the footwork pattern when you use when the ball is a little bit higher. This allows you to kind of load with the legs and then drive and get up into the ball. But I'm working on the same thing. Obviously, I'm trying to recognize where the ball's going early, set up in the right position, load with my legs, and then get the timing driving through my left leg. If you're a right-handed player, you'll be driving through your right leg, but I'm driving through my left leg, trying to time it with the racket drop, the racket lag, and create the power through efficient use of the biomechanical chain. So you can see here that I get a couple of them wrong. That happens when I try and hit the ball too hard, so I'm trying to be too forceful, and that makes me tense up and throws the timing off. So I get a much better result when I'm staying nice and relaxed and doing it through efficiency. One final thing that I want to mention is about the consistency. I'm really trying to keep my head still on contact. This is something I definitely need to improve with my left hand. I have a little bit of a tendency to lift my head, so that's kind of a piece of the puzzle that I'm trying to address at the same time. But overall, I'm relatively happy with how things are feeling, especially considering I haven't played for the last 5 months after injuring my left shoulder.
Okay, so back at it, working on these left-handers. If you enjoyed this sort of content, it'd be awesome if you give me a thumbs up, make a comment down below. And obviously, if you haven't done it, subscribe to my channel. That way I can make more of these type of videos. These are way more fun for me. I get to practice a little bit more. If you want help with this stuff, I've got a couple of resources for you. The first thing is a free vision program. Like everything you do on court comes down to how well you can see. That's why I've been able to improve my left hand so quickly, because my visual system was already working in the first place. So I've got a free program. I'll place a link down there, and I'll place a link up there so you can check it out. I've also got a masterclass that explains how you can kind of work on all the underneath stuff with brain-based training, because ultimately it's people's ability that limits them. So if you do stuff to improve your hand-to-eye coordination, your foot-to-eye coordination, your mental toughness, that is what you really need to do to kind of become a better player. So I've got a masterclass. I'll place a link in the description. I'll place a link up there. Last thing I want to let you know about is this video here. It's going to take you through some assessments for your visual system and for coordination. If you want to improve your timing, check out this video, do the assessments, see if you can find anything that's holding you back.